Hey guys, this is Rob with Vapor Street here again. Today we're going to talk about building a Altoid tin can box mod, but this is the same tin can and Altoid box that the Altoid mints are in, but it's without the logos. It's just plain Altoid tin cans. What I like about this is you can design it however you want. No protruding things. It's all nice and smooth tin can. Alright, so I've had a lot of people ask me if I can show how I build mine, so I'm going to show how I build this one here. This is just going to be a mechanical mod. No variable voltage or wattage. It's just going to be a plain mechanical mod. So here's the tin can. Open it up. I've already drilled a hole for the push button. I like mine to be on the back side. You can put it on the side, the top, depending on what style push button you get. I like the horn style buttons. You can get them in different colors: red, black, yellow, blue, green. And I've already drilled out the hole for the 510 connector up here. Alright, this is the 510 connector we'll be using right here. I like this style because you can just thread, it's got a little nut you can thread on and off. You just thread right on in. And this is a sealed 510 connector. All my connectors are sealed so I don't get the juices coming in through the bottom, so that is a sealed connector. And all these things you can get from madvapes.com. You can't get the tin can from there. I got these off eBay. I think I got a pack of 5 for $9 or something like that. But if you just go down to your local store, you want the Altoid tin can, you just buy yourself some Altoid mints, a couple dollars for the can, empty the stuff out in a bag, and then now you got your can. And you got your Altoid while you're building the can. So I'm going to use 22 gauge wire. I got reds and blacks. Red and black. This is 22 gauge. I got a battery holder compartment. These right here are more like an 18 gauge. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to cut them off. We're going to solder onto the connectors right there. You can't do sub-ohming with these wires here. They're too small. It won't allow you. That's good if you want to be safe and make sure you don't ever over exceed anything. You just use these wires right here, and you go down to about a 1 ohm coil will work just fine with this. 1 ohm on up with these wires. Got some solder, little small gauge solder. This is a 0.7 or 0.022 thousandths of soldering wire. Got some flux. Always got to have flux. All connections should be fluxed. It makes it so much easier. Got to have a soldering iron and a hot glue gun. You can use hot glue, which that's what I'm going to use, or you can use epoxy. I've got both, but for this one I'm going to use hot glue because it's quicker. You got to use a non-conductive material. Don't use don't use JB Weld or anything like that. It's got to be non-conductive. So let's dive on down here and we'll see what we're doing. Alright, so there you go. What we're going to do first is take this, we're going to cut off the wires. I mean, your battery compartment holder might not have these, but these right here, I paid $9 for 10 of them. I mean, like I say, I just cut these off. My wire strippers aren't the best. They're a little dull. And then we'll cut this one here off also. Alright, so now we cut the leads off. Alright. So hold on a second, let me get some side cutters. Another thing I like to do is to kind of cut these ends off so your battery isn't so stiff. So we'll cut these edges off here. You want it to still hold the battery in, but you don't want it to be too rough if you're using this style compartment holder. You might not use this style. Depends on what you want. But I will cut these off just a little bit so the battery is easier to come out when you want to pull it in and out. Because this will not have a automatic charger. This is just your plain basic mechanical mod right here. Let's try the battery in there. See how easy it is to get out. A little bit easier. And it still holds it in. Trim off a little bit more. Try to make it as easy as possible to get out. Alright. Alright, so we'll leave it right there. That ain't too bad, but we still want it to hold in. So anyway, first I like to place where I'm going to go. Like this. Then I can find out where my button's going to go and my 510. You got to make sure everything's cleared up there. So we'll be putting this probably somewhere around like that. Like that. So put this off to the side. And we'll get these connections soldered. Like I say, I like to flux all my areas. So I just take my finger, put a little flux on there, each side, a little bit of flux. Take all my wires and dip them in flux. Flux is your friend, I'm telling you. Alright, and we'll go ahead and flux all these connections too. On the little button there. Go ahead and get them fluxed up. Let's go ahead and get our 510 connector fluxed up. Get some flux down inside there. And this is insulated, so you got to be real careful when you're soldering this. You can actually pull that out and put it back in, but I'd rather just leave it in. So here's our soldering iron. So basically what we're going to do is tin all the wires first. So I like to leave this like this. I can just grab a little bit. And I just kind of put it on there and just let it flux. See that? It just soaks the wire right up. The wire soaks the solder right up. Just flux them together. Like I say, that's called tinning. Tinning your wire. You always want to do that first so you don't have to sit there and fight it all the time. If you don't flux your wire and tin it, whatever you're soldering to, if it's not real sturdy, it'll melt. So you just want to tin the wires a little bit. Oh. See how they're nice and tinned up now? See that? That's about where way you want it. Get one more on here, one more wire. Just it's like painting it on. If you flux it and everything, it's like painting the solder on. Okay. Then what I like to do is take a little bit on all my connections. I like to get a little bit on the solder iron, especially like these. And just go ahead and put yourself a dab on. Like I say, if you fluxed it right, it'll go right on. See that? It goes right on. Alright, so then we got that one. See how easy that was? I mean, like I say, you flux your stuff, it goes right on. There's the wire, tin to wire, like that. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and take one of these red wires. What I like to do is we're going to put it on the positive one. So Let's prop it up here. And then I like to get a little bit on my solder iron. And I just put them together. And just touch it in there. Oh, there's that connection. It doesn't have to look pretty. I'm not looking for prettiness. Just looking to see if it's going to connect real well. That's all I'm looking for. Might even connect this up inside here a little bit. Kind of make that a little bit stronger connection. Right up in here it's a little bit weak, so we'll make this a little bit stronger connection. We'll just kind of tap it a little bit. Just make it a little bit stronger connection with each other. Alright, so there's the hot wire. Then we're going to take the ground and do the same thing. Take the ground, put it on there, and do the same thing with the ground. Trying to get it where you guys can see it. Maybe go a little bit closer, maybe. Sometimes the connections are a little bit hard to put together. Alright, so there's that one. Let's go ahead and get the back side a little bit, make it stronger. So I hope you guys are able to see what I'm doing. I know it's hard to do this on camera, but there's that connection. So okay, so I got my black. I got my black on my ground, my red on my hot, just like that. Just like that. Alright. So then we're going to actually take this. We get a little bit of hot glue and hot glue this on there. So what I'm going to do is take the bottom of this and put some hot glue on it. Hot glue gun won't reach that far. So I have to do this off camera, the hot glue. So anyway, we're just going to get the hot glue all over it, the bottom. Then we're just going to seal this up on there. Just kind of get it where you want it. Just kind of push it in there. So there you go. We got our hot glue in there. So one thing I like about hot glue versus epoxy is it's nice and quick. So we got our compartment in there now. Alright. So now that's in there. So then next what we're going to do, we'll push these out of the way. Push that stuff out of the way a little bit. Alright, so now we got this connector here, and we got to get our hots in there. So and you got this. So let's go ahead and get this here, this little 510 connector all set up. So what we're going to do here is we'll get a little bit of solder on the 510 to get it set up and ready. So we'll grip it a little bit here. And then we're just going to get the solder in on the 510 connector right there. This is about the whole difficult part of the whole process, is getting this where it'll attach. Alright, so we got a little bit of solder on there now. So now we're going to take our little hot wire here. We want to kind of just fold this tip down just a little bit, because you don't want nothing touching. So you just want to barely have like a little flap like that. And we just want to kind of, you don't want to ground it out, you just want it to be in the center. Don't touch any of the side walls or nothing like that. We'll get a little more solder on it. We'll just kind of try to heat this up a little bit where it goes in the center, like that. Alright. See, now that didn't stick. That's the hard part about this. The center point just does not want to stick very well. Like I say, you want to make sure you get a little bit of wire or a little bit of solder on that connection right there. Then you just blend them together. And we'll check it here. Make sure it's good. It looks like it might be pretty good. This is the, like I say, this is the worst part of the whole deal here. But it looks like it'll be alright now. No. Fell back off. We'll get it sooner or later. Gotta have patience. Hey, you gotta have patience with that spot. Now that's hot, so we'll let that cool off a little bit. Put it off to the side. Let it cool off. It's alright. Now we got our switch. We got to have 2 wires for it. So let's get ourselves a couple red wires because it's going to be hot wires. Well, we only need 1. Or actually, we don't need any. We already got it all set up. Sorry. So okay, so basically you'll shove this in here. We'll shove this switch up in here. We'll put it right in there. And then we'll put the little lock washer on it. And then the lock nut, or the nut. Go ahead and get that inserted up. Tighten it down some. Okay, so now we got our switch in, the push button, horn button. We got it in there. So then what we got to do is we got to get and put the hot wire. We got to get our hot wire on there. So I like to run my wires down like that, and then we'll put it in here on this. We'll put it in here on the bottom one right there. But if you can get it up inside the hole, that's the best way to do it. Then you just kind of wrap it around. See how I stuck it